How is it already March? Hello, my name is Daniel. Welcome to the channel. And today I have my March TBR for you. I feel like I've done nothing but read all of February. So it's strange we're already at this point again. But I did nearly finish my entire February TBR. So I'm a little full of myself. Um, I did add a couple of items than I had originally planned, and that is what might be keeping me from completely finishing by the end of the month, which is like 2 days from the day I'm recording this. But I'm doing really well. And if I don't, like, the book I'm currently reading and trying to finish up is Catch 22 by Joseph Heller. I didn't really. I didn't really look into what I was getting into when I was reading this, or when I picked it up. Like I kind of went in cold. I knew like the phrase catch 22, and I've heard like basic high school level talk about what it's about, but I wasn't expecting the the weird um just comedy routine that I've been getting all the way through this. So I've gotten through just a small chunk so far, but it's a very quick read, so I might be able to finish on time. I guess because I'm doing a 60s comic project where I'm trying to read all of the 60s Marvel superhero comics within like this year that have been released on Epic Collections. I didn't really appreciate how talky 60s comics were, and that 2,000 pages per month of additional comic reading kind of takes a bit of time. But I'm doing well. So, I kind of want to change how I've been reading lately. As many of you probably know, I am taking part in the Read What You Own challenge, where I'm trying to read 100 books that I already own before I purchase any new ones. Magazines not don't count for that, but I want to read a bit more shorter fiction. It's kind of what I'm in the mood for anyway. I know March historically on BookTube is for events like March of the Mammoths, where you try to read like something huge, and I just am not feeling that. So I'm not gonna take part in any events other than the banned book project, which is just ongoing throughout the year, and my Ambuary project, which originally was started by Michael K. Vaughan, where he's trying to read all of the Amber books within the month of January, and then it became January, February. Um, so, tongue in cheek, but I'm just going to read one of those once per month, though it has been picking up. So I'm just going to. I have a lot of short, small items here, so it might seem like a lot of books, but it's really a lower page count, and I think I can do it. Just gonna stick with the comics really quick to get them out of the way. I am a little bit behind in the 60s superhero project. I still need to read through Namor Volume 1, which is a book that I probably read a good chunk of it already just by reading the Fantastic Four. But it's something I want to get through. Also, then I have to read Thor Volume 1, The Amazing Spider Man Volume 1, Iron Man Volume 1, and Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, I think is what it's called. Also, Volume 1. So I have about 5 epic collections I want to get through, which, um, I don't know, it's time consuming, but it's been really fun, and I've enjoyed it a lot. And reading something that short form has been probably what has teased me into reading many more short story collections this month. So without further ado, this is the TBR for the month of March. We're going to start off with the Amber books because I already mentioned it. And the next book I need to read is The Sign of the Unicorn. The Sign of the Unicorn is book 3 in the original 5 books of the Amber books. There's 10 in all, and the first 5 are kind of known as the Corwin saga. So we're following one character doing things. Not going to go into great detail as I've talked about it before, but it's like this weird multiversal fantasy that was released in the 70s, I believe. And it's the first book was a little hard for me to get into just because there didn't seem to be any limits to the character's powers. But I was really brought in by the Guns of Avalon, which I think really made this series pop for me so far. So I was hard pressed not to just start the Sign of the Unicorn immediately thereafter, but I want to pace myself in this, and plus I had kind of a larger for me TBR. So we'll get to book 3 this month. Um, the other project I mentioned briefly was the Banned Books Project. This is where we try to read books that have been banned, be it banned from a country or from a school library. So the 2 books I want to get to this month is Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, which will be a reread for me. I really like it. I actually like it much more than 1984. I don't know if that's considered controversial, but this resonated me with a lot before, and 1984 just seemed a little dated by the time I read it. But they're both good. Read them both, but uh, yeah, I just prefer Brave New World. The other book I want to read is Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that person right there. This is something that has piqued my interest for a while. I just never made it a point to read it, and since I believe it had been banned in some prison system, it counts. So those are the 2 books I'm going to read for the Banned Books Project. Now we're just going to get into some random stuff. I've been really having a hankering to read a lot of horror lately, and I've been good and holding off on the impulse to get through the things I dedicated myself to reading. But this month I'm going to go a little hog wild with it. The first thing I want to read is called The Patient Routine by Luna Ray Hall. It's a short little thing. I don't know much about it. It takes place in a hospital, and it may or may not have something to do with zombies. So that is the extent of my knowledge, and it's recently came out. I had pre-ordered it when some people got some review copies and said it was really enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to that. Also for horror, this I actually found a little free library really recently, last night actually, and that's Dean Koontz's Night Chills. And this is old Dean Koontz when he had a mustache and a little more grit. Nowadays he's writing books where like, oh, spoiler, the dog's an angel. That's a spoiler for a book that I'm not going to mention, so it's only half spoiler. So sorry, but the synopsis of the book is:
the fever is spreading, seizing the men and women of Black River, plaguing them with night chills, driving them to violent acts of rape and murder. The fever is spreading, designed by top scientists, and unleashed in a monstrous conspiracy. Its deadly spell can unlock the most frightening potential of the human mind. The fever is spreading, the nightmare is real, and death is the only cure.
Night Chills. So this one, it may be ridiculous based on the reviews I've seen. People have gone both ways on it, but I just want something light and dumb and fun, and just a little horrific. Next book I'm going to read is Reassuring Tales, Expanded Edition by T.E.D. Klein. This book, T.E.D. Klein hasn't really published a whole lot. Oh man, this is Glare City. He hasn't really published a whole lot. He did a novel called Ceremonies, and then a short story collection called Dark Gods. I haven't read Ceremonies, but Dark Gods was amazing. This has like some interviews with him, a couple renditions of short stories, including the events at Poroth Farm, which I believe is like the original version of Ceremonies. Beyond that, I don't know anything about it, so we're going to give it a shot. Next is The Autopsy, the best weird stories of Michael Shea. I was introduced to this story by the show Cabinet of Curiosities, presented by Guillermo del Toro, and that story was my favorite of the whole show. So I immediately like went out to seek out a copy of the story and get some of his other works. So I'm really looking forward to this. I also got this, Black Phone by Joe Hill. These are stories. It originally was called 20th Century Ghosts, so I don't know if Black Phone is just like the popular story. It looks like it was made into a movie, but this is a collection of stories. I have had hit and miss experiences with Joe Hill, so we'll see how it goes. Now, this is probably a little more weird tales than horror, but it's The Sea Beast Takes a Lover by Michael Andreasen. So, uh, don't know much. Got it from the dollar store a while back. I just never read it. So, looking forward to that. Also, some more short fiction is Star Trek V by James Blish. These are adaptations of the original series. They've been really hit and miss with me, but I have all 12 and I haven't gotten through them all yet. So we'll just be continuing on here. I might read more of these if I had more time. I kind of want to get through them so I can get to some more like standard Star Trek novels again. I just feel like I want to get through them. For science fiction, I have the 1972 annual World's Best. This is edited by Donald Wollheim. This is the like book club edition. I think these are normally like in Daw Yellow Spines. At least some of them are in Daw Yellow Spines because there's like 1 year between 1972 and like the early 80s. There was like a 14 or 15 year run of these books, but 1 year they just skipped doing this hardcover version of, and so I had to get it, and it was a Daw Yellow Spine, so it'll still be a form factor that I like, but it's just weird we couldn't get consistency. But I have a bunch of those, and I need to start reading them. I believe that's all the short story collections. Yeah. So also something I want to read that's not fiction is Terror in the Mind of God by Mark Juergensmeyer, and this is just a book about the rise of global religious violence. This, I think, was published like 25 years ago, so we're going to be a little out of date, but I think the principles therein will still apply to this day and things that are going on in multiple locations. So I think this will be interesting. And lastly, if I'm feeling very ambitious, this one is like I don't feel the need to finish it this coming month, but if I do, more power to me, and that is The House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. Don't know if that's his real name, but this is a weird one where it's a very non-traditional book. You have to go out of your way to, well, and some of them are very short pages, but I kind of wanted to read this because recently I had watched the movie Skinamarink, which is a very non-traditional horror movie, and a lot of people had mentioned that it reminds them of this if this were like in a movie form. Man, that movie, it didn't work for me, but like I still think about it, and that is very interesting to me. I know in college there were a bunch of people who thought The House of Leaves was like the best book ever written. I have my doubts on that, but it's something that I've always wanted to get to, and since I'm in kind of a weird mood, that's gonna be kind of my impetus for trying to get through it. But man, like yeah. Sidebar: Skinamarink was weird. Like, I can't say I recommend it because it's an hour and a half of like shots like this, and then you just hear some mumbling that you don't quite understand, and yeah.
Put out your eye.
Oh, um, yeah. So it was weird, and I don't know how I feel about it, but like it got me into thinking about horror movies in general, and yeah, I want to I want to pursue that. I want to read some horror and get into that mindset some more. I like scary books. I think that they're fascinating. Um there's few genres that try to give you a physical reaction, and I don't know. It works for me. I have always liked it. So, I think I always anyway, that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that